Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Bree Noble, and I am here today with Leslie Baylis Davis. And we're going to be talking about, she is a musician. She's also a coach to people who really want to use their voice better, whether that is for singing or speaking. And so I'm sure she's going to have a ton to help you guys with performing, confidence, just having such a long career and doing so many different things. She's like me. She's like, she's um done a podcast and a book and like all the things, right? And so I think that's really helpful with kind of seeing different kinds of income streams or different directions you can go based upon the different stage of life that you're in. So we'll talk about all of that, but I always like to start with the story because I think it's really helpful to understand where someone's been, and understand just kind of like the different changes that happened over time. It can really inspire all of us depending on what stage we're in. So, Leslie, I'd love to just kind of get a sense of how you started in music and how that kind of went and how that moved to where you are today.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Bree. Well, my story in music goes all the way back to, I guess, my childhood. I was raised by two musicians. My mom and my dad were both fabulous musicians and doing what they could to try to make it. And they didn't, but music has always been a part of our life and our lifestyle. And so I just my dream was to always teach and sing. That's what I wanted to do. And so I feel grateful because I get to do both now. And in the beginning, I didn't know where to start. I just sang in church. I did worship leading and karaoke, all the things, right? But I was very active in our show choir and all of those musical type ventures when I was growing up. And so as an adult, I felt a little lost when I started in my adult journey because there is no show choir for an adult.
Right. Well, there is, but it's like Sweet Adelines. I tried that and I was like,
Oh,
this isn't for me.
right. I couldn't find it. I was in the Air Force and I was like, I'll join Tops in Blue. And I didn't realize what a competitive place that was. And so I didn't wind up auditioning because I had a baby instead. And and so I just began playing around on my guitar and just loved the whole process of the music. And fast forward several years of worship leading and just doing life, I decided to get serious about it. And my husband has gone into production, and we looked at each other one day and we're like, we've invested a lot of money in a lot of places. And our dream is music. So why are we not investing there?
I love that. I love that. I wanted to definitely double click on that for a sec because I think that that's what happens to us as we're raising kids and, we're always investing in everything else and not ourselves. And it's hard to just say, you know what, this is what I want, and I should be showing that in my finances as well.
Yes.
So what was the impetus that made, well, like for where were you like family wise and stuff and location wise and all that stuff when you decided, okay, it's time to go all in on this?
Yes, this is a very defining moment, actually. So, my husband and I joined this challenge. It was called the 333 Challenge in Kingdom Music Academy. And we were intrigued by it and we heard the Lord say do it. So we did. And he said upgrade to VIP. So we did. And then from that point, we were offered a lifetime spot within the program, and I think it was only like $800 or something getting started, and we were like, okay, we're doing it. So we did that, and then we started getting really involved in that community. And I think without community and people who are like-minded, we probably wouldn't have stayed on the path. But because we started investing our time and our money into what we really wanted to be doing, we were able to start seeing other people doing the same things we were. And it was encouraging. And then we started believing in ourselves a little bit more and realizing that this is a skill we could develop. And somewhere along the line in my life, I had believed the lie that it was luck. I
Mm.
think I think a lot of times in our culture, they're like, "Oh, well, you have to be at the right place at the right time." And so we're groomed to believe that making it in the music business is luck and where you are and who you know. And while there's merit to that in some ways, there really is the side of things of you put in the effort, you put in the work, you learn the skills, you do the thing. And so for many years, I've been a business owner. I have built a counseling business where I worked one on one in a therapeutic setting. And that was actually something I was doing when this happened, when the defining moment happened. So we moved to Branson West, Missouri, and I moved there for the counseling practice in a wellness center that I was becoming involved in as an aromatherapist. And I was going to do aromatherapy there, and we were investing however much money into this business, and it fell apart. There
Oh
it was
man.
it fell apart, and there was a group of us, and we were all going into it together. And when unity is not there, it's really difficult to keep moving forward. And so the one who was in charge, um, it was a lack of unity, and so we just felt a little lost. We were like, okay, well, if this is what we moved here for, if this is what we're supposed to be building, quote unquote, why did it fall apart? And then that's when the conversation happened between my husband and me going, I'm spending $1,200 a month just in rent for
Mm.
this business that fell apart and all this upfront money invested in that for it just to fail. And it's okay that it failed because I learned from it and there's never true failure, right? But we still looked at each other and said, well, if we're putting $1,200 into a month into some rent, we can do this from home and put $1,200 a month into our
Mm.
skill building and learning how to market our music and the production of the music. And so we did hire a producer to do our first album, but now my husband produces our music. So he was kind of in the middle of the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be as good as. And so we had to lay that down. We had to lay down the idea that we had to be perfect. And I came across someone who had said, you really just need 1,000 true fans
Hmm.
and you can make it in the music business.
Oh,
And
I'm all about the thousand true fans. I've been saying that for years. I mean, I know that was originally by Kevin Kelly, but like I, I think it's so true. And I think we kind of have lost track of that. I know I used to talk about that all the time when I first started helping musicians back in 2015. And I would just notice lately, I was like, why am I not talking about this more? Because it is so true. And I think we just get stuck on like these vanity numbers and we need all these followers and
yeah,
I only have this many followers on Instagram. Like you really only need 1,000 true fans. Now that's the important part, true fans, right?
right.
Not just followers, true fans that are willing to actually share your stuff and invest in you and come to your shows and all that stuff.
Yes. And then I realized that there's a whole learning curve in even getting your music on streaming platforms and getting the streams and playlisting and all of the things behind after you get the music produced. Then there's the business side of things.
Yep.
And as a business owner thinker, I started realizing that this was a matter of skill building, not luck. And so I started a YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel is Life Laid Down. And I started just doing the SEO, putting up our music videos. I started doing raw living room sessions because we're in an age of perfectionism and AI and all of these things where this was probably about 5 years ago that I really started this. And the in the music industry, everybody's tuning their vocals and
Mm.
making everything try to be perfect. And my husband is, as a producer, very against tuning your vocals. He said, "You want to tune your vocals, Leslie? Then do it again. Tune it yourself."
I like that. That's what takes are for. I mean, now that we have digital, it's like there's no excuse, right?
Exactly. So I'm in the studio. I was like, well, it's a little off pitch. He said, do it again. I was like, you can't just fix it electronically. He said, no, do it again.
I just want to
So,
say, like, you guys were ahead of the curve. If you were really embracing the non-perfectionism back, 5 years ago, say 2021, like that was before AI came out,
yes,
right? So,
it
the good
was.
job on that one.
It set us up for, I think, a better mindset when AI did come out,
Mm,
because this was like the production tools of Melodyne and auto tune, and he was like, no, you can hear it, and he would show me the difference between the old music and the new music, and how it's so actually so much more pleasing to the ear to not be
hmm
perfect, because it's not, we don't hear perfect voices every day in our life. And so, yeah, so on the YouTube channel, I started doing what we called raw living room sessions.
mm,
And so I just put it out there. I was like, this is not going to be perfect. So if you want perfect, we may not be it for you, but this is going to be real. And so we would bring out the condenser mic, a guitar, and my husband and I would sit there and we would just play through. We would do covers, we would do our own music. And a lot of that was a visibility strategy. It was just a way to get videos out there, things that people are already searching for, music that's already popular that is allowed to be resung. And so we would use that to our advantage to grow our visibility. So it took me about 6 months or so to get to the 1,000 YouTube followers that you could start monetizing. And we had another baby in the midst of all of that. So I kind of let it go a little bit, but it's amazing that when you do the work up front, it really starts to become a system for you. So our YouTube channel is still growing, even though I've kind of pivoted more to the voice side of things. And so now instead of just focusing on music, I'm focusing on helping others find their voice and finding the confidence to put their voice out there, because their voice matters.
mm. I love the concept of the YouTube channel and not being perfect because honestly, like that's really the point of the Christian life, right? None of us can be perfect, and it seems silly to like talk about how, we're not expected to be perfect and we're fallen and all that stuff, and then have this like perfectly tuned vocals that you're listening to with those words. That makes no sense.
Exactly. And we have some released music, and two of the songs we put out there, the producer tuned my vocals.
Mm.
And the main reason was because I was sick when I recorded them.
Uh,
And so he was like, I can deal with this, because we had traveled to Nashville. We didn't really have
oh
another time
gosh.
to go. So I just had to do what I could with what I had. But then we did everything else remote. And my husband was taking my vocal takes, and he was like, no, you're not tuning. So the rest of our songs, I don't have tuned vocals on the rest of our songs. So out of six on the main album that we have out, two are tuned and four are not. So
And no shame. Like if you're
yeah,
sick, totally. I mean,
exactly.
that's just a
Sometimes you got to do
bummer.
it.
You've like scheduled this studio and everything. Like there's nothing you can do about that for sure. Um, so I wanted to ask, like, if you don't mind saying, like, when did you start out? Like, how old were you when you started all this? Because we have a lot of people that are watching and listening, and they are, maybe feeling like, ah, I missed the boat, like it's too late. Clearly you already started your family and all that before you even started in music.
Yes. So when I was young, I felt like I was too young and I didn't know what to do. And then I got older, I felt like I'm too old. I'm too old to be doing this. And so we really got serious about the music industry and really going forward with it when I was probably, I think I was about 40.
Awesome.
I think I was 40 when we got serious.
And when in the community that you joined, because I did want to mention that too, like obviously I have a community for female artists, and
Hmm.
I that is so important. Like that is what helped me to feel like I could do it, is to see all these other people in the community that I joined way back in the day. Were you seeing people like you in there? Were you seeing people over 40 and getting inspired by that?
Oh yes, there was all ages in there. And then as a vocal coach, when I decided to go into vocal coaching, it's really a matter of exercising your voice. And there was this idea that I had, probably from being in old churches, that as women get older, our voices change, and then it's just not as appealing when you're older. It's more vibrato and more operatic or something. And I had that thought process. And then excuse me. And then as we as I started growing in music, and then I didn't lead worship professionally as my job until I was 40. So maybe it was 39 that I started the music journey, and then that gave me the confidence to step into a paid position as a worship leader. And my paradigms were just, they just had to be shifted. And I realized that your voice, your vocal cords, your breath work, your body, it's really trainable. You can you can get better at whatever age.
Yeah, I think it's just that the people that we're thinking about from our childhood that we were, that's giving us these ideas, they weren't trained. They weren't taking voice
Exactly.
lessons. They weren't keeping their voice up, And so yeah, that could happen as you get older, but it doesn't have to.
Exactly. And you can do foundational things to keep your vocal cords agile and
Yeah.
soft and strong.
And honestly, being a worship leader is one of the best things because for me, it's forced me to sing 2 to 3 times a week, right? There's rehearsals, there's it, and then there's the two services on Sunday, and every single week, like I I can't get out of shape, you know?
Exactly. Yes, the stamina. Working
Right.
on the stamina, singing for hours at a time. And you can do that. You can do that. You can build that up.
Yep. Yeah, you can. So how did this all work with kind of family responsibilities and, did you have young kids, older kids during this time?
Oh, yes, we still have young kids. I have 5 children.
Wow.
I have 2 adult children, and they were older when we stepped into this, but I think my oldest was out of the house already, and then the second to the oldest was still home, and now he's a professional musician. So he watched this journey, and it gave him the confidence to be able to step into it as well. So he's currently putting his music out and working with my husband to produce his own music. And I have a 7-year old, a 5-year old, and a 3-year old right now.
Oh
So
my
if that
gosh.
tells you where I was, I think when we actually said yes, we had a 2.5-year old, a 1-year old, and I was not pregnant with the third one yet.
Oh my gosh. That's pretty
So,
brave, I gotta say.
so they just go with us. And
Hmm.
it has not been an easy road to have children while we do it. There is a lot of things that you have to overcome with that. And it's the question is, are you willing to do it anyway?
Right.
Because there's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be things that are going to pull you from your dream. And I'm not going to let my kids be an excuse
Mhm.
to pull me from my dreams because they are learning from me. And it's not that they're being sacrificed at the altar of my dream either. They just come along, they get to be involved.
Yep.
And I remember a worship set that we did at a community event. Our children were there, and I had a babysitter, and she was keeping the kids on the floor, but my daughter was not having it. She saw me on the stage and she was not cool with her being on the ground with the babysitter and me being on the stage. And so in front of everyone, she ran up on the stage. And instead of, I could have done a couple of things. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be bad if I say no," because my 5-year old, I think she was probably 4 at the time. She's 5 right now. And she's prone to meltdowns, and she's very strong-willed, and so I'm like, we're either going to enjoy having a child on the stage or we're going to have a meltdown, and I'm going to choose the child on the stage. So I just picked her up and kept going.
Awesome.
And the grace that people had, I was nervous to do that.
Hmm.
I was thinking, am I allowed to do this, or am I going to upset people that my kids are on the stage and all this? And I was like, you know what, I don't care. I care about her heart.
Yeah.
And so I held her, and she got to stay with me until she was comforted enough to go back down.
Hmm.
And the grace that came from it from everybody else was just like, it was so nice to see that your kids were not pushed aside. It was so nice to see that your kids could be right there with you and you can still do it. And so I feel like it turned out to be a really positive thing, even though I was nervous about what was going to happen if I let her be on the stage. I was like, I'm not ready for a meltdown. So we're going to do this.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit of a catch-22 because then you don't want to like go no, you don't want to seem too harsh either. So it's like, okay, I gotta make it the split second decision of what to do.
Hmm.
And I mean definitely the audience will give you so much grace for that kind of thing.
Yes. And that doesn't happen every time. You know,
Right.
sometimes we'll get a babysitter and they're at home. But this particular event, we wanted our kids to be involved and we
Mm,
want them to be part of our life. And especially when you start going out more often,
yep.
it you don't want to be away from them every night. So including them and that also gives them the permission to start to learn and grow and have their own dreams as well when you're following
Mhm.
yours.
Yeah, and they start to learn how to behave over time
Yes.
at an event
Yes.
like that. My daughters like saw every park in every new city because I brought my mom with me and she would take her to the park as long as it wasn't dark, take her to the park while I was performing and then they'd come back for the end so she could be like helping out with the merch table.
Yes. I love it.
Yep, you got to do what you got to do for sure. Well, I'm really curious, having done all of this worship music, what made you decide to transition into this new business that you're doing as far as like working with the voice? And maybe you can explain a little bit about what that means.
Yes. So when I decided to go into vocal coaching, it started because I wanted vocal coaching.
Mm,
And I fell in love with the mechanics of it and I learned so much. And so I went ahead and got certified under my coach. And she's based out of Nashville and she works with a lot of great voices. And so I felt really honored to be trained by her. And as I learned the training for your voice, my background in inner healing and in counseling, and then I also have a leadership background. I've been an educator in the public school system for a while. And so I went into administration professionally. And the, I was like, I have so many different aspects of my life that I want to pour into, and I don't really know how to segregate it. And so there was an intersection point where I realized this is what I do. And it was because I came across a book called Vocal Leadership. And
mm,
as I read the book, I was like, this is what I do. And so I decided to live that out. And what that is the intersection of the mechanics of the voice, the literal voice, how you use it, how you show up, how you stand, the articulation that you use when you're in front of people, connecting to people in an audience and making those deep connections and fostering the one on one. You have to be able to do that too to be able to grow the true fans because they need to know you care.
mm,
And then the inner work that's involved, the things I had to go through as a singer to be able to be willing to take the risk and all of the inner work that was involved. And then the intersection of leadership. And I saw it come together while I was leading worship one day. And the connections were going on and I was like starting to really realize that the vocal coaching I had been doing was starting to come alive on the stage in me.
mm,
So what I was teaching was and coming up for me. And I was leading worship one morning and the scene, like my vision started opening up, like I started seeing in the spirit. And the Lord, we were singing like "There's a lion inside of your lungs," and we were just singing the "Hail, Hail, Lion of Judah." You know, there's these songs that we were singing that was all about the lion, and the connection just came. There's a lion in our lungs,
mm,
and if you look in Revelation, you know, the scripture says that the voice of the lion is as the sound of many waters, and so I did a deep study on the sound of many waters because it came up how the sound of waters is the nations raging, whether
mm,
that's at war. Usually it's at war when it comes to those ancient scriptures, but in this case, it was the praises of the people, and it's still warfare.
mm,
And then the Lord said, "Call up the voices in others, because their voice matters." So it became this commissioning. And it definitely was a defining moment. And it took about 3 years before I had language for what I experienced. And so now I've gotten to the point where I'm bringing in my leadership training, as my doctoral studies was in leadership, and then my vocal training and my love of music and the intersection of inner healing and deliverance from the ministry that I work with. And so in that intersection is where I came up with authentic voice leadership. And so my podcast is Authentic Voice Leadership, where we dive deep into those things. Anything that has to do with connection and success mindsets and um, I'm sorry, connection, success mindsets, and communication. So those are all aspects of how we show up in authority. And so I want people to radiate their authority, and the radiating your authority comes from alignment. And the alignment there's 7 steps that I take people through to go from not sure how to use your voice to radiating your authority without being a jerk.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you pulled in all the things that you've been doing over time, right? This is where
Yeah.
we evolve as artists, right? Like you probably couldn't have come up with this 5 years ago
No way.
because you hadn't done multiple things, right? Even though you had the leadership background and all that. So do you feel like you've kind of come up with this like new category? Is there anybody else talking about this exact thing?
I can't say that for certain, but in the research I've done, there's maybe one or two other vocal coaches who do something similar but not exact.
Mm,
And so, because I'm focused on the alignment between the literal voice and the metaphorical voice, that's probably not the newest concept, but radiating your authority with it is where I come in. It's I want you to be the fullest version of you and who you were created to be in whatever way that looks like.
mm. Yeah,
Instead
I
of
really resonate with that because I mean I've been recently uh talking about authority assets for musicians and feeling like they really need something to pull them above like all the millions of other musicians out there and
mhm.
having some kind of an authority asset that shows that you are more than just, the average musician, I think really opens doors for people. And in order to do that, you have to be able to radiate your authority, right? Because otherwise people aren't going to believe you. And,
Yes.
so I kind of help artists do that and create what I call this category of one for them, right? Because they've got their own intellectual property, they've got their own, like, they've built their authority around this thing. And it sounds like that's very similar to what you're doing. And I think when you're doing something like this is a little bit new, like it's super cool because not many people are doing it, but it's also a little hard because people don't get it at first, right? Have you noticed you
Yes.
have to explain yourself?
Yes. And it's taken me time to actually distill it into language that makes sense to people because it is such a conversion of all of the aspects of things that I've been through, and nobody has your unique story.
Right. Right. Yeah. Um, so I'm really curious, like, what is the difference? Because all the musicians that are listening here, like pretty much almost everyone here has performed in some way.
Hmm.
And some of them perform a ton, some of them perform occasionally or have done it in the past. What's the difference between performing and leading from stage, like that you were talking about with the connection, communication, and authority and all that stuff?
Yes, I think that's such a great question because I think performing in this aspect is kind of I see it kind of like a circus monkey where we're just doing the thing that people expect us to do. It's like putting on the mask and doing the thing whether you feel it or not. And there's times where we have to do that. There's times where we have to do the thing, but we can be ourselves while we're doing the thing.
Hmm.
And the performance aspect from the striving aspect of performing is where I'm talking about that kind of performance because a performance, getting up on stage and doing a show is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing. However, if you're striving to do it and you're struggling, it's going to come through your voice.
Mm.
People can feel it. Even if they can't even if they can't put their finger on it. You can feel when there's a lack of alignment. And so radiating your authority is being in alignment and being authentic while you're performing, while you're on the stage, while and that's what creates connection. If something is coming out of your voice that is not in alignment with what you really feel or where you are that day, and you keep pushing past it anyway, you're not going to make a true connection because people can feel that and they won't receive it. But if you can say, hey guys, I'm so excited to be here. I'm struggling a little bit today. So can you engage with me and help bring the energy up in the room and just be authentic with them and say, we're all human, but we're going to do this. We're going to shift this feeling right now, and then you go into a song that's going to shift everything, and it's okay. Just like when my daughter had to come up on the stage and I just had to pick her up. I was in the middle of a quote unquote performance, but I didn't want to lay down my authenticity for the sake of the performance.
Mm.
And that's where really your authority and your connection comes from, is the alignment between what's going on with inside of you and what's showing up on the outside of you through your expression.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, right? Like if we're having
Yes.
a struggle period, how much do you say, in
Right.
front of people? And I talk a lot about, how you have to figure out what your boundaries are ahead of time, like because I'm the type
Yes.
of person who, if I just start talking, I'll just say stuff that I really later I'll like, shoot, I shouldn't have said that. So, thinking through like what is it okay for you to share on stage? What are you not okay with sharing? And just kind of having a plan, right? Because when we
Hmm.
are in that vulnerable space and we do want to share with them, and I think we do, we need to know where our edge is, where our line is, that we don't go beyond, that we're going to be like later, dang, I shouldn't have said that.
Yes, that's so important because, and that's where alignment comes from. Part of boundaries are part of your alignment.
Mm,
So holding your boundaries and knowing your core values, knowing where your priorities are, knowing when you have to take a step back, knowing when you need a little extra rest. Those things
mhm,
are all important in how you show up. And so there is a line because you don't want to, someone said to me, and it rang true, you can be personal without being private.
mm.
So the things that are private in your life, you're never expected to share those things. That's for you and the people that are in your inner circle. Those private things, and whatever is private to you is for you to define. And some people have more private than others. But authenticity has vulnerability. So there is a line where you don't go into private, but you do stay in the state of being personal.
Yeah, and I think it's worth thinking through those things because if you're
Yes.
like me, you'll mistakenly say too much. If you're uncomfortable sharing personal stuff, but you want to, then you need to think through how would I say these things if it doesn't feel natural, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've this has come up a lot recently about being an introvert. I'm not an introvert, but many performers are, and they're not an introvert on the stage. Like they know how to get up there and do the thing. But then you're surprised to find that they actually are an introvert in life, and that means that it's harder for them to expend energy after the gig and talk to people, and obviously that's a big part of like making your 1000 true fans, is you really have to connect and stuff. So how do you help artists do that? Because obviously that's included in what you're talking about as far as like radiating that authority, but also you have to take into account like your natural inclinations and your personality.
Yes, it's really true. But the thing is just being honest with people. It's like, here's my boundaries and here's why. I am an introvert.
Hmm.
But so I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. But understanding the introvert extrovert thing is really more about where you draw your energy from. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean you don't enjoy people.
Right.
It just means you might need more recovery time from with your when you're with people. So if you are it's really about, it's like you said, the planning. If you know that you're going to be gigging and you know that you're going to be making connections, what do you need to do beforehand to be rested and ready to expend energy with people? And
Yep.
so that's really important because it's part of it. And if this is the life that you're wanting, you need to decide where your boundaries are, because you could have what suits your personality. Is it a small VIP room where people pay a little bit of extra to be able to sit in a small circle with you? Is it when the show is over, I'm going to bed, I love you all, but I'm tired, and just communicating that this is how I do it. But if you want to connect outside of it, here's another time where I can show up for you, whether that's through email, whether that's through um, a call, like a group call. One of the things that I regularly do is just show up on a group call and let people ask me questions.
Mm,
And we talk through things together. It's kind of, I call it a casual Q&A.
mm.
And so you can do that to connect with people and they still feel seen. They still feel, wow, you're spending some time with us. But it doesn't have to be right after the show.
I like that. Like that's a good idea. You could even like leave invitations for them to come to the live call like on your merch table and say like, "Hey, I'm doing 5 gigs this weekend. Like I'm pretty tired, but I would love to connect with you on a live call and there's invitations for all of you here at the merch table. Go grab one." That's a
Yes.
cool
And
idea. I had not thought of that before. I just came up with that and I love it.
yeah. So it's really just, it's going inside and deciding, what do you want? How do you want to connect? How do you want to show up? What feels most like you?
Yeah. So I'm curious because I feel like the authentic vocal leadership is very, very relevant for worship leaders because we have to do, um, depending on what kind of worship leader you are and what kind of church and all that, this is not what I have to do, but a lot of them have to, read scriptures and lead people through stuff like a little more than just performing as a musician.
Mhm.
And so it makes a lot of sense to me to go into this leadership. But how does it work for people that aren't worship leaders? If you're a singer-songwriter, if you're in a rock band, like what does that mean to have that authentic vocal leadership on stage besides just singing?
It's really the same. It's just different content. So when you're on the stage and you're performing something, people want to know the story behind your
Mm,
song.
you sure do.
They want to know where the song came from. They want to know, is the lyrics that you're singing, are they the same as what I'm feeling? What did you
Mm,
feel when you wrote that song? And so it's really about storytelling and making connections. So even in a church, it comes out of your private life. The time that you spend with the Lord, the scriptures He's given you, the words that He's downloading to you, the way that you tell that is all about telling a story from a real place. So when you're on the stage, when I go out for fun for karaoke, my main thing is this is supposed to be fun.
mm,
I'm here to connect with you and have fun with you. And it's not always about the performance. You've got people just having a good time. So I chose this song tonight because I'm with my dad over here and my dad makes me feel this way and I don't get to see him very often and this song reminds me of him and so now I'm going to sing this song for you, dad. Just it's not a scripture, but
right.
it's a story from a real place. And so when you're in a concert and you have a group of fans, they want your story.
Yeah. Yep. And so do you help artists figure out how to tell their story? Because I think sometimes they struggle with like a way to tell it that's compelling, where they
Hmm.
leave they it's like I always talk about how it's like those manuals that you try to read to figure out how to fix something. Like the person that wrote it, they mistakenly skip steps because they're so in it that they don't realize they skipped the steps. So we can
Yes.
tell a story and there can be big holes and they're like, well, wait, how did you get here?
Yes. And some of that comes with practice and
Yeah.
preparation. But yes, so my program is the 7 steps that I mentioned earlier takes you through that process. So step 1 is just getting clear on your priorities.
Mm,
knowing where you want to go. What are your boundaries? Step two is the inner work, understanding that your voice matters and how to cultivate the inside of what's going on inside internally. And so all these steps are really big. I condense them down into one per week, but they're so deep. They could be each a thing all of on its own.
mm,
Step three is to to resonate. It's your tone. It's the vocal mechanics, understanding the actual mechanics of your voice,
mm,
inflection, and how to prepare that. And it's also align. It's called align your identity to your authority.
mm,
Then we go into practicing. I call it practicing courage through your story, and we write your story. You write it. You write it out. You go through your life. You find a place where you exhibited courage, or whatever word you want to put in place of courage. I use courage because I'm working on helping people radiate their authority, and they don't always have the courage.
mm.
So it could be something else, but you're finding your story. And then the next step is practicing courage. Step two, telling your story. And then it's practice, it's your body language, it's connection. That's the sixth step. And then the seventh step is to step up and step out. Practice what you're learning. Practice it. Do your
Mm.
own editing. If you have a YouTube channel, if you have a podcast, do your own editing. That way you can become friends with your voice.
I'm very friendly with my voice because I do all my own
Yes.
editing for 11 years. So yeah.
Yes. When you get used to the sound of your own voice and you start embracing your sound, it comes through with your authenticity because
Mm,
if you don't like your voice, it's going to show up. If you
right.
love your voice, it's going to show up.
And I think for me doing my own editing, it's like, wow, I did say something great there. Like
Yeah.
you notice things that you say off the cuff, and I was like, oh, I should say that more, when you listen back to yourself.
And that's really important because listening back to yourself helps you to get. I learn from my own story all the time. Whenever I'm going back and editing something or I'm working on editing my book or whether it's written or spoken, it's getting to know your own voice and becoming friends with it, embracing it, having grace for yourself like you have grace for others.
Mm, yeah, that's important. We always have so much grace for everybody other than ourselves.
Yes. And it's a practice. It's not something that comes naturally.
That's true. That's true. You have to have someone holding your feet to the fire to do it for sure. So I do want to ask this question because since we are on the Profitable Musician show here, I always like to ask kind of what do your income streams look like? Because you've got a lot of things going on. I don't know if you're still um like touring and doing live shows for worship. I know you're still recording, like you've got your program, your book, like what are how are all the things fitting together in like this pie of income streams?
Yes, so we're still developing it to be honest. There's a lot of moving parts and some of them are new and some of them are not. But I think it's important to make sure you have an income stream
Yeah.
while you're building your income streams because it gets really stressful if you don't. Ask me how I know.
Mm,
So my income streams, whether they're profitable yet or not, in the works or not, because some of them are and some of them aren't, look like we have the music streams that we don't have enough streams to pull in a lot of money yet, but we haven't also cultivated that lately.
mm,
My attention has been elsewhere. So where your focus goes, your energy flows,
yep.
and so where you're putting your focus is what you're going to see results in. So making sure it's sustainable, building a system. So we've got YouTube. That's a great visibility strategy. And once you are growing in your fans, that needs to funnel into something.
Hmm.
So YouTube used to maybe was a viable income stream, but it's really more of a visibility strategy at this point. They've changed enough rules.
Yeah.
So let that be a funnel into something that you have. We do have merch. We don't sell a lot of it, but it is available and it can be if you put attention there, it can be a great income stream.
Hmm.
Um, my book is one of the main things. It's an authority builder, but it's also a way for people to connect with you in a different kind of way.
Hmm.
So it's the book and it's the audiobook so people can hear my voice if they want that. And then that funnels into a monthly newsletter that I do that is analog. we I have a program where you get the analog newsletter. It's kind of like a coaching module on paper. It comes to your door. And through that, I have a community of people who subscribe to that I'm active in sharing the different business strategies and marketing strategies and things that I've learned. And about develop it's really more about developing your voice and authority, because I'm not the one to go through to for all the business advice. I let somebody else who's a guru in that be
I'll
that.
take you. I'll take you.
Yes.
It's my thing.
This is what makes a good partnership, is like I help
Right.
you develop this side and I can help you with business, but this person over here, I want you to go there and get that targeted depth, right? Cuz we
Right.
when we decide to coach in something, it's got to be something that's deep for us, and we can't coach everything all the time.
Exactly. That's why I don't coach in voice. I mean, even though I was trained in that in college, like that's just not my desire, you know?
Yeah, and I love it. So I coach in the voice metaphorically and physically. I mean, literally. So, yeah, and so then I have my coaching company. So Mindshift Leadership and Learning is my overall company, and from that I have the Authentic Voice Leadership podcast, and then I have the Radiant Leader is my analog newsletter. And I just cultivate. I love to cultivate community. I love connection. I love community. So my podcast goes to a community, my newsletter goes to a community, and my coaching program goes to a community. So that way we can do this together instead of it
Does that
being.
mean you have three different communities or is it all the same?
They are three.
Oh Lord.
They're three. Well, it's like this. There's the free community where we're all involved,
Mm,
and then there's the coaching community. So
got it.
they it's kind of more like, here's the big one, and
Hmm.
people who are paying are here, and then people who are doing the coaching are here, but they're still in the whole broader
That
spectrum of
makes it. So is
things.
that like a school community or something?
It's not on school. It's
Uh,
I use a platform called Green Lamp.
oh, I don't know that one. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not a very well-known one, but I absolutely love it because that's where my book is published from and shipped from. That's where my
Mm.
newsletter is published and shipped from, and
Oh,
it's where I
that's
can build
easy.
community. It just streamlines it for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, nowadays it's like school communities or like back in the day I had my free Facebook group and
Mhm.
so yeah, it's a useful way to help people out as they're progressing in what they're doing
Yes.
to the point where they want that paid support.
Yes. So it's really a go deep, go long, go wide strategy.
Yep, that
So
makes a lot of sense.
you want the visibility, the wide. You want of all the people that are going to be exposed to you, only a certain percentage of them are going to be in that inner circle.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you
they're
need something for each stage. You can't
true.
focus on every stage at once, but cultivate the go deep, cultivate the go long, and then cultivate the go wide, or in whatever order makes sense to you.
Mm, that makes sense. So along those lines, I know we met because you were on a summit.
Yes.
And I've done summits before back in the day. I did two big summits in 2018, 2019. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
I'm curious, like, is that a long-term strategy for you being on summits? And do you find that that's really, really helpful for meeting people?
I do. I think it's a really great authority builder.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great visibility strategy, and it really does radiate out into the rest of your business. And so it's the exposure. So depending on which summits you choose, some are less exposure than others, but through that summit, I've been able to connect with several people, and it grew my email list. I've been able to nurture, more and more people on my email list because of the summit, probably doubled it. And
Nice.
then as you visibility is important. You can have the best thing in the world, but if nobody knows it, it's never going to do anything.
Yep. I
So,
know. That's my line. Having great music is not enough.
yes, and what's interesting is I didn't show up to the summit to talk about my music. I showed up to teach people how to radiate authority without being a jerk. But because I am whoever I am wherever I am, because I'm trying to practice what I preach, right? It comes out. And so my streams on Spotify and Apple Music, I've even gained subscribers on YouTube just from that summit. So
Well,
it
yeah,
gave
because you got asked to sing a song, and that's where I discovered you were a musician. I was like, oh, I got to connect with this person.
yes, yes, she asked me to close out the conference with a inspiring song, and I was like, okay, I'm going to choose one that I wrote.
Smart. Yeah, see, so this is exactly what I'm saying about the authority asset and creating that category of one for yourself, right? Like you came in there, nobody else on that summit is a musician. So you're the only one they're going to ask to do the closing song. They didn't think at first, oh, I need a closing song, but once they found out they had a musician in the house, they were like, oh, we've got something cool, right? So this is where I feel like musicians can kind of come in the back door.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's actually a really effective way to get your music heard.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool to hear that you saw an increase in streams and YouTube followers and views and all that stuff just from that. Just from that
Yes.
chance meeting on that summit.
I
That was
had
a
people re-
live part of the summit too, so not everybody there even saw that part.
Yes, and I think they did record it, so they got to go see it again if they wanted to. But I even have people responding to my emails now. I'm like, okay, where do I find your music? What's your band name again?
Oh my gosh,
You
that's
know?
so cool.
So they didn't even know that I had a band and that I was part of a band. And then it comes out that my husband's a producer because I have all this in my background with the guitars and the drums and the keyboards and stuff because I do all of my work in our studio. It's our Stufus, our studio office.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, I think that that's also a really good thing to mention. Like if you're doing a different thing that's not exactly promoting yourself as a musician,
hmm
people are fans of you no matter what. And so they're fans of you for your coaching, but they want to know about your music, right? And we often think, well, that's a different thing. I shouldn't be telling them. They didn't sign up to hear about my music. Well, you can at least like let them know that it exists and give them a choice if they want to go into like a music related funnel.
yes. Well, it's funny you say that because as I wrote my story in my book, I'm like, I have a song that came out of this season of my life. And so I can't separate it. So in my book, I say, I have a song that came out of this season of my life. You can go listen to it.
There you go.
So
Sometimes a
even in the
song can
midst
say it
of it,
better than anything else, right?
yes. Well, we love the emotion of music. And so when we take our story and we condense it into poetry, it makes a different kind of connection.
Yeah.
That's why they want to hear both the song and the story behind the song.
Yes, that's a good point. It's a different media, it's a different mode, it's hitting them in a different place in their brain, like, all of that stuff.
Right.
That's so cool.
Yes.
That's so cool. Well, this is great because this like even just allowed me to illustrate what I've been talking about as far as like kind of that I'm calling it the end run around the music industry or the back door or getting access to places that musicians can't normally get. And you just did that organically with this summit. So that's a really cool illustration.
Awesome.
That's so funny. Well, let everybody know how they can connect with you, including how they can find your music, but also how can they find out about your coaching around the authentic voice.
Yes. So I have my podcast officially launches tomorrow.
Oh my gosh,
And
and I'm going to be
so,
on it soon, so everyone
yes,
should
you are.
subscribe.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. It's so Authentic Voice Leadership is the name of the podcast. You can go to authenticvoiceleadership.com and that gets you access to the community. You just got to put your email in there and that way I can say hello to you. Um that's the main way that is visible. I'm on social platforms. I'm not active on them. So I am there. You can message me through that. You can get me on my email at Leslie at mindshifttll.com. That stands for leadership and learning. So then you can also find Mindshift Leadership and Learning. Mindshifttll.com is where you can find almost anything to do with me. That's my main website. And you can get my book at anchored.mindshifttll.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been so great to talk with you. I knew we'd have a lot to talk about once I saw you on the summit. So I'm glad that we connected and I know that everything we talked about today is going to be so useful to all the musicians listening, especially knowing that if you don't start your music career until you're 39, You've got so much in front of you, right?
Yes, and you have more authority at 39, so
Oh
use that
gosh.
to your advantage.
Yes.
Use your story to your advantage. It's okay. The older we get, the more wisdom we have.
Yep. Yep. You're speaking my language for sure. Thanks so much, Leslie.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an honor.